Hello and welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am working on a stone. I've been asked to cut a stone of a very specific kind of shape and size and color and all that kind of stuff. And I've realized that I've got something that's absolutely perfect. So it was basically, I want a droplet shaped opal, less than a carat or around a carat. This one's just under, and it's got to be green, blue, as high a dome as possible. So this one ticks all of those boxes. And this is a clear example of when rubs are really, really good. So this one came from a parcel from Bay State Opals that you can see on the YouTube channel. I'll add a link in the description so you can track this video down. This is just one of the rubs from that rub collection. And it is absolutely perfect. It hits every mark possible. There's a few little sandy spots, mostly in the back, which we're not too worried about. There's one or two in the face that we'll just try to get rid of. You can see that one just up there. There we go, that's the right angle for it. But yeah, rubs are really great for this kind of thing. If I was just going through rough and trimming it up and seeing what I could get out of it, to meet this person's requirements of a like teardrop shaped, well, a droplet shaped, fat, they wanted a fat droplet that's green, blue, crystal to white, under a carat. Now that is a lot of things to get right when you're doing a rough stone and trying to get to that point. You're either going to waste a lot of material or you're just not going to find it for 50 stones in a row. No matter how good you are at reading bars and everything and opals, when it's in the rough, you really can't read it like that. When it's in a rubbed form like this, it is absolutely perfect, and this is the times when I love to buy rubs. And I like to have a collection of rubs just sitting there ready to go in case someone really needs a stone. And in this case, someone really needs a stone. So we're going to get onto it. We're not going to need sintered diamonds. That's another great thing about these sorts of rubs. If you don't want to have to buy all that equipment, you don't need the sintered diamonds for this. You can just go with Nova points and then polishing. Really just that 4-pack of Novas from 280 to 3000 and then some cerium oxide, and that's all you need for this kind of thing. A felt burr for the oxide and you're good to go. You could even do this one by hand. Normally I would hold a stone, but because this is under a carat, what I'm going to do is go with the old chopstick dop method. So all you need to dop it is a chopstick. I'm just using this one here. It's already got a tapered end. Sometimes they don't, but if you've got a tapered end one, you can always just trim it down to the width that you want to match the base of the opal. All you want is for this to match here, nice and flat on the rub. So you really do need to re-flatten your rub if you've got a bit of an edge, but this one's already perfectly flat. So flatten your rub, flatten your chopstick, make sure that they're matching, no overhang of the chopstick or of the dop wax that you're going to chuck on it. I'm actually not going to use dop wax, I'm going to use my favorite super glue. So this is a Loctite Precision. Precision, whenever you see that in a super glue, it just means that it's thick. See that how it's like honey rather than some thin watery base one. This one's actually not the thickest one in the world. I could have gone for the thicker one, but I just found this one. So this one is pretty good, pretty thick. And it's got a nice application nozzle, so it's a really sharp point. So I'm just going to get this one dopped, and then we're going to get the Novas out and cerium oxide and polish it up. Hopefully it'll work out because it is the perfect stone that the person wants. Okay, dopped and good to go. I didn't trim the toothpick too much. It fits on pretty nicely. It's a very small opal. I'm not going to hold it up with my fingers. And we'll start off with the 280 grit Nova. Now because it's a rub, rubs can come in a lot of different shapes, sizes and fashions. But here I'm just going to pin my fingers together just to show you that that's a good way to keep stabilization. And I'm just going to get rid of a lot of the facets. It was a very facety kind of stone, so I'm guessing it was done on a flat lap. I could see a lot of flat spots. So most likely a flat lap. We want to get rid of all of those, but most importantly we want to get rid of all the scratches. We want to get rid of all of the sand in the face. Back and sides doesn't matter so much as long as it doesn't destabilize the stone. But we want to keep the shape, maybe improve it a little bit, take off all the facets, take off all the inclusions. And for all of that we're using the 280 grit. It's going to do the majority of the work today. Really, you can get away with doing a lot of shaping with the 280 grit, you just don't really want to all the time. And here you can see how foggy it is. I just ground it till it was a little bit dusty. You don't really want to let that happen, but I did it just to show this point. You just get that fog, wipe it off a little bit, and still dry. You still get that fog. You're not going to get a glossy stone at all at 280, but it should look very consistent. And you only stop when you get rid of the inclusions, and here it looks good. But I chuck it under a light and just have a really good look for a couple spots. And you can see here, I just get the texture and I hit those spots with texture. You want to use a really wet texture. Don't use a really old texture. You want to use a really new one. You want the ink or the dye to go right into any pores or cracks or scratches. And you'll see here when you go over it, the majority of the texture, maybe 99% of it, will disappear straight away. It'll just rub straight off the face of the stone with the burr. But you'll see that what's left behind is what you're actually trying to attack. So if you just give it a couple seconds here, we'll see. Just wiping off the majority of the texture, give it a wipe with your finger because the texture does move around because of the water. And you can see right there in the center, there's these two little pits, tiny little pits. And we want to grind those away. We want to get rid of all of those, and then I'll move on and do the other two missing spots. It's pretty good to only have a couple spots that have been missed. And that was only found under a loop and under light backing, which really highlights any kind of even small specks of sand, especially in such clean crystal material. So yeah, very good. When it's a really bright stone like this too, it can actually be harder to see the inclusions. So it's every trick you've got in your sleeve, you might as well use it each time. We're not in a rush. It does take quite a long time. You can see there, it's still there, but we do work it out, and then we switch over to the polishing stages. So we've got the 600, 1200, 3000 grit novas. That's the brown, grey and pink. And then we finish it off with the cerium oxide. And I'm just using my standard super cerium. It's it's a stage that I can do forever. The other ones I do honestly get sick of every now and then. I feel like, especially with the 1200, and a lot of people skip the 3000 completely. But for some reason I really do love using cerium oxide. It's just a nice relaxing process. You can see all the colors. You do little dips in the water every now and then and clean it off and have a look, and you can see that it's getting fully glossy. You probably don't need to work on it more, especially a small stone like this should only take a couple minutes. But you know what, I could sit there and just do it for a full day on a stone. If I just had a whole heap of stones just ready for cerium oxide polishing, I would do it. I would easily work in one of the opal shops in the city if all it meant was I sat there and just cerium oxide polished stones after someone had done all the shaping and carving. It is just something I enjoy a lot, and it's once you get a good cerium oxide or any kind of metal oxide, aluminium oxide as well, it's just a very enjoyable process. Alright, and here we are at the end, and look at that, it pretty much hits the mark in every category. It's a fat teardrop, really high domed if you look at it from the side here. It's yeah, and I've already been given the nod of approval, so it's worked out well. I was a little bit worried because the color has actually gone a little bit less blue and it's gone a bit more green, and even got some signs of some yellow in there, which is yeah, a little bit unexpected. I didn't expect to start seeing some yellows. In person, for some reason the camera does like to favor the green. In person it is a little bit more blue as well, so it's okay. It's basically worked out almost perfectly, but you can see there, at some angles, the warmer colors actually come in, which I didn't really see much of when I started this one. And you know what? I put a lot of this success down to the fact that it was a rub. To find this stone out of a bucket of rough is going to be impossible. It's just going to take me too long. When someone asks me for a specific style of stone, I would have to either say I've got it or I don't have it, and yeah, that's as simple as it gets. But when it comes to rubs, I can look through them and say, oh yeah, that one will work almost perfectly. And once the inclusions and everything cleared out of this one and it took its shine, it's worked out incredibly well. Some inclusions still in the back and sides, but they're going to be covered up because this is going to be chucked into a bezel setting anyway. So yeah, really successful, and goes to show the power of rubs. I would actually say if you are really interested in being able to make money from this game, it is easier and more reliable to just go with rubs and then shape those up to what you need in the end and then use those for whatever you need them for. Rough is just very hit and miss, very hard to find what you're looking for, and rubs are just so much easier. You do need to find the correct seller for a rub though. Like Bay State Opals here, Lou over there, I mean this is all the way from the US, so Australian Opals gone to the US then come back here. He's got some great rub parcels and selections there. And he does it the proper way. He isn't just cutting up a couple stones, getting them started, and then seeing that there's a problem and then offloading them. You do have to be careful that people are just sometimes offloading stuff that they either see that they can't cut or they just don't want to cut. You really want those people that have just got too much for them to be able to cut it all themselves, and they're just prepping it so that they can show off what's really inside the rough piece and then selling it on. It is a little bit more expensive than buying pure rough, but it's also far less of a gamble. Things can still go wrong, but nowhere near to the same level. So yeah, here we are, a nice little 0.7 to 0.8 carat stone that hit all the criteria that I was looking for perfectly. And then I'm just dropping it on my cutting mat, when really I should be dropping it onto this tissue, wrapping it up and getting on with the next one. So I'll see you guys then.